new babe.
So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back. So listen, the other day or yesterday or whichever day it was, all of the days seem like they running together here lately. We checked out things you shouldn't look up or type in Google Translate, right? Today we're looking at 5 disturbingly shocking discoveries on Google Maps, Earth, and Street View. All right, so let's check it out. Y'all may hear some little kids running, playing outside next to the window, stuff like that. I got family over, man. It's Memorial Day, man. After this video, I'm about to go up there and light the grill, so I don't know what time it's about to be. All right, so let's check this video out though.
The world is a vast and beautiful place, and most people are not fortunate enough to be able to explore it. But thanks to Google Maps and Street View, you can now conduct your own virtual world tour for free, and view and explore over 65 countries, spanning 7 continents, all from the comfort of your own home. However, every now and then, something turns up that is truly shocking or creepy for the viewer. And here we look at 5 occasions when Google Maps or Street View has thrown up something completely unexpected. Be that the truck of a serial killer that had yet to be found when the street was photographed, or even the eerie building that was transmitting the mysterious Russian number station. This video is brought to you by Amino Apps, my go-to for catching up on the latest ghost photo or slow thought back. Amino, and you will see the video. The Village of Dead Dolls. If you look on Google Maps for a tiny village called Nagoro, located in the valleys of Shikoku, Japan, you'll get a shock, because as you follow the road through the village, all is not what it seems. As you may have noticed, the village is populated not by people, but dolls. They are all the work of Mrs. Ayano, who returned to her childhood village after many years away, and discovered that most of the residents that she formerly knew had either died or left. Feeling lonely, she first made a doll that resembled her deceased father. This was followed by recreations of other members of her family, which progressed to former residents of the village, all in the form of life-size dolls. There are around...
I get it, man. Everybody grieve different, but this one is weird. Yeah. Life-size or dolls or life-size dolls or for people that are gone. No.
And 350 dolls scattered around the village today, each representing a dead or former resident. Even the school has a few dolls sat at desks, waiting for classes to begin. Ayano has strategically placed the dolls of the people she once knew in the places she remembers they worked or frequented. According to the story, it's claimed by locals that new dolls appear overnight, although no one has ever seen Ayano putting them in their positions. And an even creepier tale is that she creates dolls of people who are still alive in preparation for when they die.
Nah, man, that's like no. Don't speed my death up. Don't create no doll for me and I'm still alive. Nah. See, bro. Ooh.
Ariel Castro's home. 2207 Seymour Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio, probably doesn't mean much to most of you. And if you search on Google Maps, it's represented by an ominous blur. But behind the blur lies the home of former bus driver and father of 4, Ariel Castro, who held 3 girls captive for over 10 years and subjected them to an unimaginable and inhumane existence inside the property during the time this Google Street View was taken. The horror started in August 2002 when 21-year-old Michelle Knight accepted a lift from a man she vaguely recognized as the father of a girl she knew. It was a decision she would regret for the next 11 years. Michelle was taken to Castro's home in Seymour Avenue, where she was tied up and left in an upstairs room, where she remained for the next 11 years, often chained to a wall and regularly abused, beaten and raped by Castro. During her time in captivity, she suffered 5 miscarriages. Less than a year after Michelle's kidnap, on April 21st, 2003, Castro picked up another girl. She was 16-year-old Amanda Berry, who accepted a lift from Castro after she had finished her shift at Burger King. Initially, her disappearance was treated as a runaway, until a week later, an unidentified male used his cell phone to call her mother, saying, "I have Amanda. She's fine and will be coming home in a couple of days." Sadly, Amanda's mother died in 2006 of a heart failure and never saw her daughter again. Castro's third and youngest victim was 14-year-old Georgina De Jesus. He picked her up on April 2, 2004, as she walked home from school. Georgina knew him as she was friends with his daughter. During her time at Castro's house, Georgina was chained to Michelle and the pair were held on the top floor. Amanda lived separately in another room, and on Christmas Day 2006, she gave birth to Castro's daughter. Michelle was ordered to help with the birth, and Castro threatened to kill her if the baby didn't survive. Despite an initial scare, where the baby stopped breathing, Michelle was able to revive it and it lived. During the time Castro kept the girls imprisoned, he still held down his job as a school bus driver until he was fired in 2012.
Oh my God, this fool is a school bus driver. He around our babies every day.
He also regularly held family back.
Now y'all see why I'm struggling, bro. I am struggling. Trust? Are you kidding me? These days, who has trust? I don't. I really don't have much trust.
Barbecues and nights with friends at the house, and he would move the girls into the basement in case anyone heard them. He also occasionally took his daughter outside and even introduced her as the child he had with his new girlfriend. After 10 long years, it was Amanda that was finally able to make contact with a neighbor after she realized Castro had left the door unlocked. She escaped with his 6-year-old daughter and alerted the authorities, who rescued Michelle and Georgina.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm fine now.
All 4 of them were taken to the hospital and later released. Michelle was the last to be released, as Castro had been particularly cruel to her, and she had been beaten so frequently that she had to have her jaw reconstructed. Because she had endured so much abuse, after she was freed, Michelle legally changed her name to avoid the traumatic memories that she associated with her previous name. The full horror of the past 11 years was revealed, and Castro was sentenced to consecutive life terms in...
Are you serious? Do you see the ticker at the bottom what it's reading? I'm not a monster, I'm sick. Man, don't give me that sick, man. Don't patronize me, bro. You're not sick. You are you are a monster, fam. No, I'm not a monster, I'm sick. Stop it. 11 years, bro? Yeah, okay.
In prison, plus 1,000 years, all without any possibility of parole. But just a month after his conviction, on the evening of September 3rd, 2013, Castro was found hanged by a bedsheet in his cell at the Correctional Reception Center in Ohio. As part of the plea bargain, Castro's house was demolished on August 7th, 2013, watched by family and friends of the girls. But chillingly, the ominous blur on Google Maps is still a reminder of the horrors those poor girls had to endure there. Israel Keyes' truck. Now this next image, caught on Google Street View in 2011, may look innocent enough. After all, it's just a truck parked on a street. That is until you look at the name on the trailer, Keyes Construction, and realize this truck and trailer belong to Ariel Keyes, a notorious serial killer who committed a series of rapes and burglaries in and around Alaska, and who murdered at least 11 people. Keyes was born in Utah in 1978, and although he was brought up in a Mormon family, he showed no interest in religion. And when his family moved to Washington, he became friends with a man who went on to murder 3 people. Keyes later served in the US Army from 1998 through 2011. And it was during this period that his killing spree started in Washington state, where he killed at least 4 people. After he was discharged from the army, he did odd jobs for a few years before setting up a construction business in 2007 called Keyes Construction. By this time, he was based in Alaska. Keyes planned his murders, sometimes years in advance, and always killed far away from his home and never in the same area twice. In order to avoid detection, he would go on his murder trips with his phone turned off and paid for everything in cash. He also killed randomly and had no connection to any of his victims. In 2011, Bill and Lorraine Currier of Essex, Vermont, went missing after Keyes broke into their home. He tied them up before driving to an abandoned farmhouse where he shot Bill before sexually assaulting and strangling Lorraine. However, their bodies have never been found. Keyes was meticulous in his planning of their murders. First, he flew to Chicago and then drove 1,000 miles in a rented car where he picked up a murder kit that he had hidden 2 years earlier. The kit contained a handgun and various other supplies. After killing the pair, he moved the kit to a new hiding place in Parrishville, New York, in readiness for his next murder. It remained there until after his arrest. Keyes was finally caught after he kidnapped and murdered 18-year-old Samantha Koenig, a barista working in Anchorage, Alaska. He held Samantha for a day, then murdered her, leaving her body in a shed. He then went off on a cruise. When he returned, he demanded a $30,000 ransom for a safe return and took a photograph of Samantha's dead body along with a 4-day-old issue of the Anchorage Daily News, trying to maintain the illusion that she was still alive. He then dismembered her corpse and disposed of it in the Matanuska Lake just north of Anchorage. Samantha's desperate family paid the ransom, believing she was still alive, but police were able to track Keyes after he used Samantha's debit card at various locations, and he was eventually arrested in Texas and extradited to Alaska. Keyes confessed to a string of offenses, including arms robbery, rape, burglaries, arson, and murder, including at least one in New York State, that authorities have never been able to identify. But he was never convicted because on December 2nd, 2012, whilst being held at the Anchorage Correctional Complex on suspicion of murder, he committed suicide by cutting his wrist.
Both of these last two fools took the coward way out. See, that's why we can't. I don't know, man, because I feel like that's too easy. That's too easy. We got to figure out a way to stop. They got to be watched, held, shackled down to something, man. We cannot just let them do these crimes and then go out easy like that, bro. I don't like it. I don't like it.
And strangulation. His suicide made him a rarity. He was a confessed serial killer who was never condemned for his crimes. What is chilling is just what was hiding in his truck on the day Google Maps caught the image. Philip and Nancy Garrigo's house. This Street View image taken in July 2007 looks ordinary enough, just a house on a suburban street in South Lake Tahoe, California. Slightly neglected, but nothing that stands out. The image also showed the homeowner leaving his house and follow behind the Google vehicle for a while. However, at the time this was taken, in a shed behind the house, a young woman was being held captive. Her name was Jaycee Dugard, and she had been abducted 16 years earlier when she was an 11-year-old walking home from school. The man in the truck is her abductor, convicted sex offender Philip Garrido. Garrido and his wife Nancy snatched Jaycee on June the 10th.
So he said she was abducted when she was 11 for 16 years, and makes her 27 years old. When either she was released or they found her. 20 to be gone from 11 to your 27 years old, bro. That's scary, man. To know somebody who could do that to somebody for that. And y'all think that's, and y'all wonder why I'm pissed, because they take it. Man, look at what they doing to these people. And then they want to get there and commit suicide and hang themselves? Ah, that's too easy.
10th, 1991, as she walked to catch her school bus. After pulling up beside her in his truck, Garrido rolled down his window and rendered her unconscious with a stun gun. Nancy then bundled her into the car and held her down as she drifted in and out of consciousness. They then drove her for 3 hours to their home in Antioch. Initially, Dugard only had contact with Philip, who would regularly rape her whilst handcuffed in the tiny soundproof shed he held her captive in. But after 7 months, he introduced her to his wife Nancy, who initially showed her some compassion, bringing her milkshakes and soft toys, but who over the years turned on Jaycee and became jealous of her. And when Philip was jailed for failing a drug test, she became Dugard's jailer until he returned. Eventually the Garridos released Jaycee from her handcuffs for short periods, although she was kept locked in the shed with no access to doctors or dentists. and at the age of 13, she was pregnant with her first child. She later gave birth to a daughter on August the 18th, 1994. Jaycee learned about babies and childbirth from watching programs on the tiny TV she was supplied with her. Her second daughter was born on November the 13th, 1997. Jaycee was able to take care of her daughters and protect them from Garrido. After many years living in the shed, Garrido eventually built an 8-foot-tall fence around the backyard and set up a tent for Jaycee and her children, and she was allowed to walk outside. The Garridos agreed that Jaycee was to call Nancy mother, and that she was to teach her daughters that she was their sister rather than their mother. And when Jaycee and her daughters were eventually allowed to come into contact with other people, this is the story they told. Jaycee was also allowed to work as a graphic designer in Garrido's print shop, where she had access to a phone and email, but remarkably, she made no attempt to alert anyone about her childhood abduction. Jaycee and her daughters also had contact with neighbors who never suspected a thing. To the outside world, Jaycee was going by the name of Elisa, but when in 2004, Philip went to a University of California Berkeley police officer with Jaycee's 2 daughters to seek permission to hold a special event on campus as part of his God's Desire program. The event's manager became suspicious, and after discovering Garrido was a sex offender, she arranged another meeting, and again she was concerned about the girl's appearance and behavior, so arranged for the family to meet with a parole officer. When the family arrived for the meeting, they were separated, and an agitated Jaycee was asked to confirm her identity. She insisted her name was Elisa and defended Garrido. It wasn't until the police arrived and Garrido admitted he had kidnapped and raped her that she identified herself as Jaycee Dugard, the schoolgirl who had been missing for 18 years. The full horror of those 18 years in captivity were revealed, and on April 28, 2011, the Garridos pleaded guilty to kidnapping and rape by force. Philip was sentenced to 431 years to life imprisonment, and Nancy received 36 years. Jaycee retained custody of her children and was soon reunited with her family. Since her release, Jaycee has written a book about her life in captivity, entitled A Stolen Life. UVB.
Hold on, y'all, my bad. This finna go dead. How did I not know that? Oh snap, where's my charger? Where's my charger? I brought it in here last night. Hold on a second, y'all. Oh, there you go. Can I save it in time? Man, I forgot my laptop wasn't plugged up. My bad, y'all. Whew. 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 All right. So, where was I? What was I about to say? Oh yeah, the title, bro.
In a book about her life in captivity, entitled A Stolen Life.
That's what I was talking about the time, fam. I was talking about the time earlier, bro. How long she was held in captivity, fam. That's the perfect title for it, bro. Her entire life, not entire life, but significant time has been stolen away from her, man, that she can't get back, that she got to live with, 11 to 27, 16 years. I think I heard him even say 18 in there as well. That's somebody going from kindergarten to graduation of high school. That amount of time. Like, and then imagine her family. Like, they gotta reintroduce themselves to each other. Like, they gotta learn each other all over again. He got what, 400, 300 or something years? Still not enough. Still not enough. And he needs to be shackled down so he can't commit suicide.
UVB-76. Now, we've talked about the buzzer on Top 5s before. The mysterious Russian radio signal, also known as UVB-76, that has been broadcasting since the late 1970s, with the earliest known recording in 1982. The signal, which broadcasts on 4625 kHz, has baffled people for years, with many questioning its purpose and the meaning of the messages that can be heard. It mainly emits a short monotone buzz, 25 times a minute, all day, every day. However, every few years, the buzz stops and a Russian voice can be heard, reading out a mixture of numbers and names. Initially, the broadcast was thought to be a recording, playing continuously on loop, but this was dismissed, and it was revealed the buzzer noise is manually generated, as often you can hear activity in the background, suggesting it had a base. The question was, where was it? Efforts to locate where the signal was coming from led to a Russian military base on the outskirts of Povaravo, a small town 19 miles north of Moscow. It can clearly be seen on Google Maps. But when the signal changed in October 2010, it was realized that the station had changed locations. The move was followed by a flurry of activity and voice messages, while it established a signal in its new location, and a new call sign was also heard. After the station changed location, urban explorers were keen to get into the old base, and now armed with the Google coordinates, two groups traveled to the remote town and managed to bypass the guard dog and infiltrate the abandoned bunker and military buildings, where for over 30 years the buzz had been transmitting from. They found out from a local farmer that a fierce storm in 2010 had forced the military outpost to be evacuated, which explains the change of location. They described the place as quiet and lonely, with a maze of corridors and rooms. They also found a book that contained a log of messages sent by UVB-76, providing physical proof that they were in the right place, along with confirmation that it had been run by the Russian military. But the mystery is far from being solved. The buzz and sporadic voice messages can still be picked up, and legions of listeners tune in via radios and online streams every day, and all attempts to ascertain its new location have so far proved fruitless, as unlike before, it seems that UVB-76 is now emanating from multiple transmitters across Russia. There are lots of theories on what the purpose of the radio station is, with the most popular being that it is the audible version of Russia's Dead Man Switch system, an automatic nuclear weapons control system operated in the Cold War, that can automatically trigger the launch of Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles in the event that a nuclear strike is detected. A device that is not supposed to be still in use, but is rumoured to still be switched on and fully functional should the need arise. This seems unlikely, but who knows? The buzz is more likely to be a channel marker used to discourage others from using the same frequency, so the Russian military can communicate through coded messages to multiple units at the same time. But still, no one really knows. Although thanks to Google Maps and a few brave urban explorers, at least we know for sure that it is something to do with the Russian military. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Nuclear weapons that are not supposed to be are actually, you know what I'm saying? If you believe they're not lying to you, then something wrong with you, all right? I'm still tripping over the girl that was held in captivity. I'm sorry, y'all. 16 to 18 years, fam. I'm still tripping over that, bro. It's her entire life. She'll never get back. She'll never get to experience her sweet 16. She'll never go to high school prom. She misses out on all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Those moments, those girl bond moments with her mom or dad, you know, just growing up, having that, that's sad. It's all taken away from her, man. I don't even think I could read that book, bro. I think the emotions that she probably outlined, detailed in that book, bro, would be too much for me to read, fam. I just don't want to hear about it. That would be rough. That would be a tough read. that would definitely be a tough read. But prayers to her, prayers to her family, middle finger to him and his wife, and that's how I feel about it. It is what it is. It's your boy L. Till the next reaction, I'm gone. Peace.